Welcome to the Open Waters podcast, where we are venturing into the deep of what God is saying and doing through the body of Christ and through Open Waters worship.
Come join us as we grow in unity, relationships, and true intimacy with Jesus. Let's dive in. Let's go.
Awesome.
Hello. Welcome to Open Waters Worship Podcast. Hello. Anybody in there? Hello. Hello.
My mic wasn't on.
Oh no. That's an amateur move, Josiah. Hey, so we're so glad you're with us again. We're releasing a little bit later than usual, but hopefully you're able to still enjoy and grow. And our deepest hope is that you grow deeper with God and that He takes you out into the open waters and you could just kind of splash around with Him and just really meditate on things that encourage your heart to worship and to revival and to just intimacy with Him. So I just have to say, I'm looking out the window right now. We live in Utah and we had another snowstorm again this week. We hit record amounts of snowfall for the season, 800 inches. And that was before this latest storm, the most ever in North America in the season. Is that crazy? It's true.
What part is Alaska part of?
I was wondering that too. Maybe it's the continental. Wait. Yeah.
They're connected.
I
What?
don't know why.
Maybe just part of
There's always snow there, probably.
maybe.
You know, there are parts that probably just have precipitation. I don't know. If you know,
I don't know.
let us know in the comments.
Yeah, in the comments.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Josiah, so our Mo About You segment.
Go for it.
Hey,
What's
are
your
you
question?
a fan on at night or no fan?
Yes.
Total quiet.
I'm a fan on person. The white noise is so nice, and also just the slight breeze is really nice as well. But also having the window open is great too. I had my window open all throughout the winter.
Wow.
Not completely open, it's just cracked just to get that nice cool air.
They say you sleep better with the cooler temperatures.
Yeah. Close the vents so that it's just nice and cold.
So you're like an ice box.
Yeah. And so
Sounds terrible.
Your face is all nice and cold. I'm not sure if this is true, but apparently they say that your body has a decrease in temperature for you to fall asleep, and so it's a lot harder when it's a hot room. So
Interesting.
it's pretty cold.
Yeah.
You just pass out.
There you go. All right. What's our topic this week, Josiah?
What about you? Fan or no fan?
Oh, I didn't answer it. You're right. You know what? So I've become accustomed to it, but I think if it really comes down to what I really like, the best sleep I've ever had in my life was on a cruise, no window, no fan, complete darkness, complete silence.
Gross.
I am like the other day, Caleb and I, your brother, went on a hike at Capitol Reef National Park, and we were standing on this rim, and we were just looking out, and it was silent, no noise at all. And I was just like, this is the closest I get to being underwater, which I love swimming underwater, in a pool, because
Weird.
it's just silence. So
That's
I think
weird.
what I really like is the silence, but I can also appreciate a fan, and that's what I live with every night.
It's wacky. But alrighty.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, today we have a special topic for you. Not really special, but make sure you wait until the end because we do have a quick announcement for you guys of something we are thinking about doing in the future. And we just kind of want your input on if we should move forward with it. And so we're going to give that to you at the end, but also feel free to make sure you guys give us your thoughts on if we should roll forward with this said planned event, or if you think that we should not do it. Just be 100% honest with us. Don't worry, we're not going to get offended if you guys don't think so. It's just going to...
This is an offend-free zone.
Absolutely. The church has had enough offense, so we don't need to hear open waters. And so, anyway, but what is our topic today, Lisa?
Lisa, otherwise known as Mom.
Need some water.
So we are talking today about, I just wanted to talk about diving into God's love. Okay, I know that sounds like a pretty typical topic, but really seriously, Josiah, we encounter God's love in so many different ways. And I want to know, what is a small way that God speaks to you love? Like when this happens, that's God kind of giving you a little kiss or a hug or just kind of loving on you a little extra special.
When you're in a hurry
Yeah.
to get somewhere and there's just lines of green lights for you.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I've got worship music on. I know that's you, God. You're aligning my steps. Those lights are green. I know I'm headed where I'm supposed to be. A small one, or it's not super small, but something that happens is I don't know if anybody else gets this. Like, let me know next time I see you. But one of the things that happens is I will have like dreams of certain things that will happen. And then they'll it's weird. You don't
the deja
remember.
vu type thing.
Yeah, it's like I've totally been here in a dream somewhere. Where I'll like remember a certain event, even like a slight bit of a conversation, or like exactly how people are positioned in a room, or like some event will happen exactly as I planned it, like a couple seconds, like that was exactly how I remember. And it's like, okay, God, well, I'm guessing you planned me to be here, and so I thank you for directing my steps. And so it's like, love of God is helping me get to where I need to go, even though sometimes we are more than unwilling. So. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. What I hear you saying is when God lets you know that you're where you're supposed to be in different ways, it kind of really speaks love to you.
Well, yeah, because I think there's so much for us to get off on, especially in life. There's so many different directions we can go in life, and so many different distractions we can get distracted by. And even though we do get distracted by some of them, sometimes it's like he still is just, he's not just going to let us sit there. Yeah, we're going to have consequences for what we did, but yes, he's going to continue and he's still going to love us and he's still going to direct our steps, even though we messed up sometimes. So,
yeah. I think for me, I think some of the same things, like I just went on a trip again, like with Kayla, we did a spring break trip for going to the national parks, and we ran into a server at one of the restaurants, the little restaurants in a small town, and she was from Bulgaria, and she was just talking about becoming a citizen. Then she was so grateful that she became a Christian. And then she's in this place where she's in the minority. And as far as being a Christian, and it's really hard. And so we ended up praying with her. And I walked away saying, this feels so good. I just love when I can, love other people. And I just feel that divine appointment. Like this is a divine encounter of, God, just she encouraged us, we encouraged her. And I think it's along the same lines, just knowing that, God knows where we're at and is kind of directing our steps and sees us and knows us. It's just such a little way that we experience his love. And I think too, when you get confirmation, like when I'm, for instance, the Lord gave me another insight about trusting him. And I've been really trying to meditate on it and really make it a part of my DNA, and really just my, thinking about it, meditating on it makes it part of your neural pathways. I want it to be one of my go-tos, that I trust God, and he wants me to trust him so much more. And I just think he showed me, I just randomly, I was like, Lord, it sounds like such, again, an amateur move, but I was like, Lord, what should I read today? And he took me to a psalm, and it was all about this vision he gave me that I was given in a special session for identity coaching that was really diving into my identity and who I am and just trusting him. And it was all about just looking at his eyes that burn with passion, and that he's taking care of things, that I can trust him. And when he does little things like that, which they're actually huge things, it helps you feel so known, seen, heard, loved. To know that he directed me to that random, I'm like, okay, God, where should I go? And I go to it, and it's it's like the scripture verse to back this vision that I have. And even the other day, we were at your house, and I was putting together furniture, and there was 2 songs that played that actually had to do exactly with my vision. And it's been about 3 months, but it's just been something I've been meditating on because, like I said, I want it to become a part of my DNA.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a little way that God just speaks so much love. Another way is in nature.
Mm-hmm.
When I see something beautiful in nature, and I just pause for a second. I'm like, oh, wow, the love of God. Like, you created this for me.
Yeah. I think another way for me is just an example. On Sunday mornings, God's really out pouring out his presence. And it's one of those things, it's where it's like I can feel him and I can feel his love because he's trusting me with his outpouring of presence and glory. And it's not because I want the glory. It's because he gets the glory and he's just trusting
He
us
will
to
have the
usher
glory.
it in. And so I'm at a point where it's like a weird place where it's like, okay, God, I don't want to mess up your presence. But then on the other hand, it's like, okay, I had to learn at some point how to handle his presence. And so it's like, he's loving me enough to be like, I'm okay if you mess up, but it's time for you to step into this presence. You know what I'm saying? The church into this presence. It's not just the worship team. It's the entire, everybody in the room.
Yeah.
But truly feel loved when, it's like he's trusting you with this gift and that's just him showing up. And so
Good. It's really good.
yeah, get excited every time.
Yeah, I think, and here I just want to pause for a second and say why, we've really been pushing into revival.
Yeah.
And why are we talking about God's love as we're talking about revival and we're talking about worship? It's because when you realize how loved you are, there's this song, there's this bridge, this ad lib part that Misty Edwards does in the song. He loves us, oh how he loves us. And she breaks into this ad-libbing part in this live recording, and it impacted me the first time I ever heard it, and it keeps impacting me. But she says, when you've experienced the love of God, and she says it with such passion, you would know it. Because if you have, you would never be the same and never, ever be the same. Do you remember that part? I don't know if you remember it. It's so impactful and it's with so much passion. And it's true. When you experience the love of God, whether it's on small, we started off talking with small levels, so to speak. They're actually miraculous and amazing and huge. And the God of the universe chooses to speak to each one of us, and just to reveal himself and to love us, which is accessible to every person on this planet, not even those who are just saved. God is seeking after the one, and so he is speaking and he is pursuing. And I believe Jesus hasn't come back yet because he's waiting for the ones who still have the glimmer in their heart of possibility of turning to him and choosing him. And so, but it's like when you experience that love, you are forever changed. And it's like, how can I say this? I'm trying to think of a really good example, but when you get hit with the love of God, it brings you to your knees, if not physically. Sometimes it is physically, but it is, metaphorically inside. You just come to your knees and it's everything you could want. I think it's like, for me, being in the sunshine on the warm beach and feeling the sun, it's just like all of that wrapped up into one, and it overwhelms you with the greatness of who he is. And it just causes your heart to worship, to adore, to give him glory, to love him back. It's incredible. So that's why we talk about it. And I also think too, focusing on God's love and his goodness in the middle of so much that seems like it's on fire, like the dumpster fire around us, so much in the world that it seems, and we have access to information through, the media, social media, through the internet. We can see so much bad, hit with the things that are on fire and a mess. And it's good to really allow the love of God to soak in and to really just, when those little things come, to absorb it.
Yep.
So that you can, it speaks to those places in you that it brings things to life. It causes worship. It forever changes you.
It's important to make sure you remember the times where you felt his love, because there's going to be seasons where you feel close to him. There's going to be seasons where you feel far away from him. And so it's nice to have those memorials, like we talked about a while ago, of what his love feels like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you can return yourself back to that moment when you felt that love. Maybe for me, it's like, okay, I felt his love, when I was saved. Okay, great. Well, return yourself back to that first love, and you may not feel him like you did back then, but you know how it's felt. And so, he's there, he's never left your side, and that his love surpasses all understanding. And so he's right there for you. He's loving you, even though you may not feel his love. And so, some big ways that, I felt his love. Obviously, recently I bought a house, and so felt very loved with the physical things. And it's like, like he's giving me this blessing of a house, you know what I'm saying? Even though everything's looking pretty like shady around, everything's looking pretty shaky. It's like, okay, I'm going to give you this.
Yeah.
Just the way that it was given to me too, just like, from the price dropping to the concessions that were given, just things, it appraised for more than I was sold for. It's just those things that's like, okay, I was totally ready just to pass on this house because I was like, God, if this isn't the one, then let's just move on and get me into the one. And so he obviously was like, this is the one. And so I was like, okay, appreciate that, God.
Yeah.
And so working hard, and
it's good.
Obviously feel loved when, he's there providing for you.
Yeah.
So.
Man, I think for me, I've had so many encounters with God. I think the one that really, oh my goodness, so many marked me. I've had so many over the years. I think one of the ways that I felt the love of God in such an amazing way was my first trip to Bethel. I had wanted to go there. I had dreamed of going there. And I went there for a women's conference. I actually got to be there once before, I think, for a quick like stop in, but no, I don't remember. Anyway, but it was this women's conference. I went with a dear friend, and it was after, your dad died. It was after your grandma died, and I was a mess. And I had my first like inner healing sozo experience. And then Abby and Justin Stumval, who have their podcast, we've talked about that before. This was years ago, before they even had that podcast, before they had their life coaching thing that they do. And some of their curriculum, they have some amazing curriculum out there. But he actually started speaking over women, and I felt so incredibly loved.
Just ignore the noise behind.
By God. So incredibly loved by God. I bent over and was weeping because he was speaking to this place inside of me. God was speaking, like you talked about, you want to be, basically what you said earlier is, you feel so loved by God that he would use you, and and you want to steward it well. But so he was such a conduit of the glory of God, like God's glory coming through him, and then that glory goes back to him, and that love, liquid love just washed over me, and it was pretty amazing. And I had another experience like that years before too. Paul Young, who wrote The Shack, was here in Utah, and he spoke, and I had a similar, like, I could not stand up, and I wept. And it's when the Lord was healing some places in me that were allowing me to be able to stand up and leave, your father. And so, which was hard, excruciating. So those were huge times of, I think, that love, that I felt his love so tangibly. I mean, I feel it honestly every day, but I do have to be present and aware and looking.
I think in Utah, there's different atmospheres and everything, and there's different angels being held up in different places. And so I think in Utah, we're in what's called, I believe, the chain of depression in the U.S.
Yeah.
And this state especially struggles with depression and suicide and stuff. And I think that's because of the different spirits in Utah that have been getting combated recently, actually. It's been much easier to get into the presence, much easier to feel the love of God, much easier just to usher in the presence and actually make the way right for Jesus.
Yeah.
And I think that's because of a long battle being fought, but also I think, it's just God's just, he doesn't fight. He just shows up and the enemy flees. And so
that's right.
I think he's showing up in Utah, and it's just breaking through that veil, breaking through that, the enemy spirits. And so the love of Jesus is just being brighter and stronger than
Yeah.
ever. I think one thing that this is kind of a side note, but I think kind of going back to what I said about like, having the presence at church, what I'm saying, and being able to usher in the presence is finally understanding what the fear of the Lord is. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want this presence or this atmosphere to be about me. And I'm afraid to mess up because I
Right.
know he's the one that's glorious. He's the one that's deserves all honor, all praise. And I don't want any of that. And so it's like, I'm afraid to mess up because back in the day, you'd send in the priest into the Holy of Holies, and they'd wear special clothing so that they know if they would be as pure as they could be. Right. And if they weren't pure, they would die. And then the bells would stop ringing on their coat. They'd have to rope them out. Yeah. And so it's one of those things. It's like, I know I'm not going to die because we're in the New Testament, but here's the thing. It's like, we still have the same God.
Yes.
He's still the same God he was yesterday, today, and forever. And so I just want to worship him the best I can in holiness and obviously in correct manner. And I don't want any of the glory. I just want him to be glorified. And so, side note, I think I understand what they mean when they say fear of the Lord now. It's like, it's hard to understand that, especially in the New Testament, where I think everybody thinks, Jesus is my buddy. Jesus is, he's your friend, but also he's your God.
Right.
He's still the one that created everything you see with just a word. So it's like, I think we lose track of that. Mm-hmm. And then the fact that he loves us is just beyond comprehension.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah. I think the number one thing for me, though, that shows that he loves me is the cross. This week is Easter coming Sunday. Mm-hmm. And I think there's just been so many different sermons I've heard on Easter, and it's been awesome just to be a part of the church, to have multiple sermons on Easter. I think, sometimes it gets old, but also I think it's talking about the cross should never get old, right? It should always be a refreshing of our first love back to Jesus, because that is truly where it started for us. Before then, it was a select group, and then after Jesus, it was everybody. Yeah. And so we were saved by grace and given grace that we don't deserve. And I just, there was a sermon that happened a while ago. I believe it was at, it was either at Jesus Culture, Bethel Young Saints, one of those. Yeah. But they had like a sermon about the cross, and it was just, it's mind blowing. Like, why, I think I've truly understand and unlocked, why our king, if you think about it, back in the old days, they would have people die for their king. That was the entire motive of a knight, right? The peasants, everybody would be a shield for their king. But the fact that God switched the roles of the medieval times, switched the roles of the ancient times, and he was like, no, the king's going to be the shield for you. He's going to wash your feet. He's going to die for you. He's going to take up this torture for you because he loves you that much. Yeah. It's insane. That's no other king in history has done that for their people, right? And so it's not it's just mind-blowing to have that kind of love from a king, especially the king of the universe, the one that made everything. And so
it is amazing. And I think I've said this before, all other false religions. Yeah. So Christianity is not a false religion. No. But all false religions, every single one of them requires you to do things, to be holy, to transcend, to blah, 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 whatever it is. Even, let's say, witchcraft, Satanism, white witchery, all that kind of stuff, Wicca, all that kind of stuff, universal, new agey. It sounds PC lovey, but they still have to do rituals and do things and stuff like that. And there's requirements of you. And even to the extreme of some religions where you have to die, for even in some mainline, Catholicism, suffering and dying is the greatest penance and the greatest, thing. And Islam, you think about if you suicide bomber or, all that kind of stuff, it requires of you to do. But Jesus did it all. And he died for you. He died for you. Instead of you dying for him, he died for you. the love is unbelievable. And then he gives you everything that the Father gave him. It's incredible.
I think, Jesus is just one of, I think the reason people struggle believing is because it sounds too good to be true. I think everybody has this scale of goodness to badness. Everything has everybody thinks karma's real. You know what I'm saying? And so the fact that some person would die for them without asking anything of me, there's not that love in the world. There's just not.
Right.
Even within whatever movie, True Love, there's just not that kind of love. And so the fact that Jesus would come down and die for us, ask us of nothing, and then simply let us into his kingdom, that he's made a spot for us.
Right.
And he, truly tracks with us throughout life, has been through every moment, even the painful parts. He's been there. You've never heard of Sozo, please try it. But you'll just realize that he's been there every way, every part of your life, in every aspect. It's just maybe you haven't noticed him there.
Right. Yeah. I've had some.
So go for it.
No, so many powerful moments along those lines where you're like, God, where were you? And when you do go back and say, God, where were you when this tragedy happened or this thing happened? How could you let this happen? And you really, truly, with an open heart, say, God, where were you? He will show you. And I have been in an inner room with many people and experienced this myself. When I saw where God was in that moment, he was protecting me. He was working to my benefit. The thing is, he doesn't control free will. He allows free will. Are there miracles sometimes? Yes. And I don't have the answers for that. But it doesn't mean he loves somebody else more than me. I don't know why. Somebody could have a gun and pull the trigger and it doesn't go off, and another person pulls the gun, the trigger goes off, and they die, right? I don't understand that. But what I do know is when I've asked God the question, he showed me, and I've experienced his love. And I've opened my heart, because you have to open your heart. His love is there. It's waterfalls of love everywhere you go. But are you opening your heart to receive it? And are you opening your eyes to see it?
And I just want to bring it back to what I was saying is this is the only thing that sounds too good to be true that actually is real.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
That's true.
And so I think it was purposely made for that, because it's God is I don't want to it's the most attractive thing, but I think that's what makes it so people doubt, is because there's no way this is real. And so they just shy away from the love of God. But in reality, this is real life. Yeah. This is real.
It is love that people are searching for. Honestly, all the things, let's take a person who, and this may upset people, but transgender, what are they looking for? They're looking for love and attention and acceptance. And they have it in God. It's just there's an injured place, right? The person who is sleeping around, they can say they don't want attachment, but they're looking for love. That was one of the things I loved about the Jesus Revolution movie. One of the statements that will forever stick with me in that movie was about the hippies that were in the love movement. Or the, hippie, movement. And there was a lot that they did that was hurtful, and not right. But what was said in the movie was they're looking for all the right things in all the wrong places. And that's exactly where people are on a journey to love, to be loved. And unfortunately, we live in a fallen world with people who are human that hurt, and so we can get hurt and feel unloved and develop a belief system based on lies and about our value that then we're not loved, closes us up to love, and then we're looking for the right things but in the wrong places. And what we really need is this love of God that changes everything.
And I think along with the things that you were talking about, whether it's sleeping around, being transgender, it's one of those things where it's okay, going back to he's too good to be true. It's everybody expects to have to give something of themselves, whether that be if gender was fluid, they're giving their gender, or their body if they're sleeping around, stuff like that. It's like they have to give something to get love. You know what I'm saying? But with God,
That's
all He
good.
asks is for just
really
a
good,
simple answer.
Josiah.
And so it's like one of those things. It's just like a call to action. It's just like with the love of God that we've received, or maybe you haven't received it, just take a second to just, ask God to come in your heart. However He directs you, just, it doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to have the right words. Just ask Him, And the love of God is not something we should keep to ourselves. And so I think something that the Jesus Revolution did speak to me is that where are those people going to get love?
Yeah.
And so we have to be ready to accept people like that. They don't need to be in leadership. Let me say, they don't need to be in leadership if they're struggling with those things. They don't need to be in leadership if they're struggling with their sexuality. It's probably not best for them to do that anyway, because they need to figure things out. They need to experience the true love of God. But they should still have a seat in our churches, right?
Well, and I think one of the beautiful things is, so when we experience this love, we love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. We love our neighbor as we love ourselves, right? There's just this beautiful thing. We experience the love of God. We are that conduit again for that love to others. And I remember, we didn't intend to talk about the Jesus Revolution maybe again, but
No.
There's that scene where the pastor is washing the hippies, the kids' feet because one of the
More
religious board members in there was like, they're getting their new carpets dirty. Who cares? But anyway, so he washed their feet. So he loved them. And I think when we feel loved, we love. Like it just is our capacity. It's like the Grinch. When we are able to receive love, our heart grows. We can hold more love. We're able to give love.
Yep.
And love is what it's about. The law hangs on love.
Hebrews. I'm actually going to be going through Hebrews. So,
nice.
And like I said, just a call to action, like what ways that, just think about to yourself just really quickly. What are some ways that you can just like be love to the people around you? Maybe you need to invite somebody to Open Waters. Maybe you need to invite some people to church, or maybe you just need to text somebody, hey, I just want to know that I want you to let you know that I value our relationship, and very thankful that you're in my life, or whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe pay for somebody's meal or coffee. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be extravagant. People don't need to know it's you. My goal in life is to buy somebody a house without them knowing who it is. And it's just, I don't want the credit. I would leave a letter there being like, hey, God provided this house for you, just to give God the glory. You know what I'm saying?
Good.
And that's one of the things. It's like, we're called on this earth to be love to others. We're called to go and make disciples. And so how do we do that? Is we just be love, Jesus was love. Just want to backtrack just a quick second, though, really quick, to what you said about, the different things with the gun going off and not going off. It's just like The Chosen portrayed this really well, and that's that some people get to suffer through things that others don't because they're going to have a testimony to tell. And it's going to be awesome because if you're still able to show people love that have gone through the same situation and come out with the positive side,
and
you're able to show them love, you're going to be able to show more love to the people that have the same situation that you have. And so I think it's just going to be a testimony, but that was just a quick backtrack.
It's really good.
Any final comments?
I think call to action, you like to have an action steps. I think I would just encourage listeners, and I want to remind myself as well, like really be aware of how you experience God's love and how you feel loved. If you don't believe in God, if you do believe in God, how do you recognize love and how do you experience? Because God speaks your language. He speaks to us in ways that we understand. That's what he does. And we have ears to see, eyes to hear, hearts to understand.
Yep.
And so I would say just really think about that. How do you feel loved? What makes you feel loved? And then I would encourage you to really be on the lookout for the ways that God is showing you that love. And then I would encourage you to watch your response. Yeah. What is your response to that? Are you open to receiving that love? And if you're not, it's okay. Because the reality is, don't hide it in shame. You're not okay with it. There's probably a valid reason why you're not okay with it. So ask God into the conversation. God, if you're real, if you don't know, if you believe in God, God, if you're real, would you show me why I can't receive love in this moment? And let him show you, and then invite him in to heal you, invite him in to increase your capacity for love and to receive his love. And then I would encourage you to really just meditate every time he shows you love, to really take the time to absorb that and take the time to think about it and meditate on it and just really let it get in there, and then do it again and do it again and do it again. And then I would encourage you, as you grow in your love capacity, like the Grinch, your heart's growing 3 times bigger. Would you just look out and say, God, who can I be a conduit for love today?
Yeah. Lord, I just want to just quickly pray. God, I just want to thank you for the love that you give to us, God, the love that we don't deserve, the love that you just freely give, God, the one that you died on the cross for us to obtain and to just have free access to. You broke the veil so that we could join you in the Holy of Holies, that your love could just flow to us directly, God, through your Holy Spirit. And we just thank you for the fact that a king would fall on his knees, get whipped in the back, and then hung on a cross, God, for us, die, and then 3 days later be risen again, God. And so I just pray that this Easter, God, we just celebrate you, God, your resurrection, Jesus, that you dying on the cross. Easter's the good part, but God, you still had to die for that to happen. And so, Lord, I just thank you for the love that was poured out, and that even on the cross you said, forgive us because we don't know what we're doing. And truly we don't. Look at our nations right now, God. We really don't know what we're doing. Without you, human civilization would have failed long ago, God. I just want to thank you for your grace and your mercy. Even for people that don't know you, God, the grace and mercy upon them, because although they don't know it, God, we know it, and that you're directing their steps, God. Even though the people that we think don't deserve anything, God, you're like, no, there's something there. I've given them blessing. Even though you don't know that they deserve it, I see what the gold inside of them. And so I'm blessing them, even though they may not see me as the blesser. And so, God, I just want to thank you for the love that you pour out to the people that know and the people that don't know, Jesus. And I pray that to you be the glory that is so deserved, God. You deserve all the glory, like I said, God. And I pray that we could just be a reflection of your love to the people around us, God, here in the valley, God. I just pray against the depression chain in the U.S., God, that it's just going to be broken here in Utah, God, that it's just no longer going to have a hold on our teens, God, my families, God, on just anybody here in the Utah, God, and along the U.S. depression chain, God, across the world, God. You're breaking through the veil of depression, the veil of loneliness, the veil of just searching for answers and love in the wrong places, God, and you're just going to come fill the need, the holes that have been left and scarred to them by their families in the world, God. And I just want to thank you for what's coming, God, the revival that's here and growing, Jesus. And I just pray that you continue to teach us how to just receive your outpouring and then to throw out your outpouring to the people around.
Yeah, thank you, God.
Yeah. Say these things in your name. Amen.
Be sure to join us this Saturday at 6 p.m. The usual place. Again, if you need the address, please contact us. We're happy to provide that to you. The information is all in the bios, everywhere. So, and
I just want to quickly, actually, Lord, I just want to bless Manny's wife, God, that she is getting surgery on her teeth. And I just wanted to pray that her surgery goes well.
Yes, God.
And that everything is going to be just go perfect, and that everything is going to turn out great.
Yeah.
Bless him.
Amen.
Yeah, and we wanted to announce that there's so this is open to negotiation. So please send us your answers at openwaterworship@gmail.com, or just tell me in person when I see you next, me or my mom. Just let us know, hey, about this. And so the event that we're thinking about doing is doing a community event, breaking bread together as Open Waters family, just having like a food night where we just come and we just get to have a hangout,
Yeah.
grow in community, because the churches, yes, we come from different parts of the body. We're still part of the one body. And so it's time for us to, unite the body, and still community in our own parts is great, but community as a whole is awesome. So.
Yeah. And also, if you're looking for more worship, so we're Saturday, the 8th at 6 p.m. But then there's also a worship night at New Creation Church in Sandy, Utah at 6 p.m. on April 7th,
so,
Friday.
If you need
Good Friday.
If you need address, it's literally, if you're in Utah, it's right off westbound off of 9,000 South coming from I-15, or it's just right next to I-15 if you're coming from anywhere else.
Yeah, it's like on a frontage road. But anyway, you can look them up. Google New Creation Maps. Church in Sandy, Utah. That's April 7th, Friday, and we are having open waters the following day
at 6 p.m.
Can't get enough worship. All right. Let us know in the comments and or email us openwaterworship.com. We love you guys. We're just praying for an outpouring of his love over you these next 2 weeks.
All righty. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.